What's up, y'all? Looks like I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. So let me get live on Insta. There we go. There we go. All right. Now I'm live every place I need to be. Hopefully you can see me and hear me okay. Right. This new camera I got is always doing its own thing. So I got to kind of corral it half the time. Okay. All right. So welcome to today's weekly comics chat. This is Friday, August 15th, 2025. And the first thing I'm going to talk about today, and I'm also going to end the broadcast with this too, is I'm going to talk about my project. Now, I tried to launch last year, but I'm going to launch again. And so I'm really going to need your help. So all those that support me and all those that want to help me get some comics going and all those that enjoy my writing and all that, I want you to, if you wouldn't mind, I want you to support my Kickstarter. Now, I haven't relaunched it yet. This one we're going to drop sometime in the next month. But I just really wanted to ask all of my friends and my supporters because I really love this comic. I really tried to write my heart out. I really love these characters and I really want to get it going and I really want to get it on the map. But I can't do that by myself. So I need the help of my supporters. So I just wanted to again ask those that follow me and those that support me, if when this Kickstarter drops, it's going to drop sometime before the middle of next month, I believe. Then if you wouldn't mind supporting it, I would really appreciate that. The name of my comic book is The Z Normals. The Z Normals. And the tagline is, what if you could turn pain into powers? And each one of them has a story and each one of them has a secret. And everything about them is a whole secret. So I can't say too much because anything I say will be spoiler territory. So I'll just say, if you're a fan of comics, I think you'll be a fan of this because I'm a fan of comics and I wrote it like being a fan. I didn't write it any other way. I wrote it like, what would I want to read? What would I want to see? What kind of book would I enjoy? And so I'm believing that those that feel that way also would enjoy it as well. So anyway, like I said, tried to launch it last year. We're going to try again, but I really need your help because I really want this to go. I really want to get this on the market. And I really want you to read it so I can start talking about the spoilers because I can't say nothing now. You have to read it because anything I say would be a spoiler and I don't want to do that. So anyway, I'm going to talk about this again before I sign off today, but I just wanted to throw that out there that I'm really calling on the support of my tweeps and, friends, fans, family, because I really want to make this comic book happen. All right. So that's that. Judging by the picture you see behind me, you ought to be able to tell what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is this Twitter fight I had this week. Okay. I'm going to talk about this Twitter fight I had this week, and it was really interesting because they're always interesting. But I mean, the people that troll, it must be the same demon because they all say the same things. It's the most amazing thing. So it must be the same devil that they listen to because the arguments are always the same, the comebacks are always the same, it's always the same. So that's how I know it's the same demon that's driving them. It's the most amazing thing. So let me show you the tweet that I posted that got the feedback. And here it is right here. All right, let me see if I can blow that up a little bit more. So Duke of Gotham posted a tweet that I responded to, and he said, speaking of Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, and Sam, the Kid Nova, basically said that Miles has never been more popular. They said that Kamala, Ms. Marvel, has never been more disrespected. And they said that Sam, as Kid Nova, has never been more irrelevant. So I responded to that with this right here. I said, popularity can be faked. Twitter rage doesn't translate to sales. Speaking of Miles, but also Kamala. I said, respect cannot be demanded. It has to be earned. And the third thing I said was, this one is true. We're still trying to get Richard Rider to get to the main stage. Lord have mercy if that didn't set off a firestorm. But I'm kind of used to that, because that's kind of like what Twitter is like. It's like everybody wants to come and like vent their rage or whatever. But anyway, so that response by me set off this huge firestorm. And I, in fact, got someone on my timeline today. I'm going to show you that tweet in a minute. But one of the first responses I got was, how does respect have to be earned? And the reason I'm not pulling that up is because I blocked this person. So, but anyway, they said, how come respect has to be earned? And I can guess your position on civil rights. Well, let me see if I can find that, if you want to see that. But I ended up blocking them. But they said something to me along that order, along the lines of, how are your feelings on civil rights and all the different kind of thing. And I don't know, I can't get it. But anyway, so I was like, good morning, Kenny, it's good to see you. So I was like, what does civil rights have to do with what I'm talking about? It don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Okay. And anytime somebody doesn't understand that respect has to be earned, there's no need to explain it to them. So that's one of the things I said in one of my responses, is that the existence of the question negates the efficacy of the answer. When somebody says, explain what you mean respect has to be earned, you're wasting your breath now. You're wasting your words, because they're not going to understand. If they don't already understand that, okay, because the way these characters have been presented constantly and consistently is, if you don't like them, you're a racist and a bigot. And that is not how you launch a comic character. That is not how you write a character. That's not how you do anything. But when you base a character on nothing but their demographics, or when your character is an offshoot character and they're an offshoot of a main character that's more popular and more established, for some reason that I haven't figured out yet, they think that gaslighting people will work, but it doesn't. So Miles Morales is Black and Hispanic Spider-Man. Nothing wrong with that. We already had a Hispanic Spider-Man, that's Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, but they said we needed a Black Spider-Man, and that's basically who Miles is. Doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad character, but when that's the only aspect of the character you push, is their demographics. And then you say, if you don't like them, you must be a racist. Then that means your character really doesn't have a leg to stand on. And so Miles has been divisive for a while now. So normally the rhetoric goes, Miles Morales is Miles Morales and Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Okay? And so, whatever you want to say, people can't be gaslit. We know what that is, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the character. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy the character, but don't talk to people like they're stupid, like they don't understand what they're looking at. Okay, when it comes to Kamala, Kamala's been pushed as, being the first Muslim hero, being a young Pakistani girl, and a whole bunch of different things like that. But that's always been her focus and frame, and it's always been, you have to like her or else you're a sexist or a misogynist. I want you to notice something. I want you to notice that no one has to push Fantastic Four like that. I want you to notice that no one has to push Sue Storm like that. I want you to notice that no one has to push Storm or Jubilee or Kitty Pryde or Jean Grey. I want you to notice they don't have to be presented that way. Have you noticed that? Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, her sister Yelena, White Widow in some cases. Have you noticed that they don't have to be presented that if you don't like them, you must be a sexist, racist, bigot? Have you noticed that? Why is it then that whenever Kamala Khan is pushed, whenever her name comes up, it's always, if you don't like her, you must be a bigot or racist? Why is that? And when it comes to Sam, part of the problem with Sam as Kid Nova is that Richard Rider, the original Nova, and the Nova Corps have not been established enough in anything but the comics. So you have to read comics to have any kind of idea who they are. From the movies, the little we've seen of the Nova Corps in the movies gives you no real clue as to who the Nova Corps is. We didn't even see the real Nova Corps in the movies. We saw some type of ersatz version. So the Nova Corps is not completely analogous to the Green Lantern Corps in DC. It's a similar idea, but it's not the completely analogous idea. So it's not a one-for-one exchange. Like Thanos and Darkseid are basically the same character. But the Nova Corps is not necessarily a direct analog for the Green Lantern Corps, but it's a similar idea. Similar idea. And so that idea hasn't been established in Marvel outside of the comics. And so until we get Nova, Richard Rider, the original Nova, and the man called Nova, until we get him established with normies, because he needs a cartoon, he needs a CW show if they were still doing that. He needs something that kind of pushes him to the forefront. When you have that, then it's a little bit easier, maybe, to sell the kid version or an offshoot version, but not if they don't know the original hero. Okay? But for some reason, when it comes to Miles and Kamala Khan in particular, there's always the cries of racism and bigotry and misogyny if you don't like them. But you don't have to sell anybody, you don't have to sell She-Hulk on that. She-Hulk was popular in the comics for years. Why is that? If it's all about hating or liking women or whatever, because you know how I feel about that foolishness. It's just foolishness. Why is it when it comes to Kamala Khan, it always has to involve those accusations? Okay? So another thing that happened in this Twitter fight this week was I asked somebody, because they came on and criticized, and Miles has never been more popular, and Kamala earned her place. And I said, give me some numbers. They never answered me. So when people are talking about the popularity of a character, you cannot completely measure popularity, but we do have some metrics. I'm not saying the metrics we do have are the comprehensive view, because you can't really measure popularity in a comprehensive way. You can measure numbers and metrics. That's not always necessarily correlated with the popularity of a character. Okay? But I did ask for numbers, and they didn't give me any. So what I did was I posted some on my timeline. I found some myself. And so I'm going to let you see that right now. Now, this article is from almost 2 years ago to the day. Almost 2 years ago to the day. This article I'm reading now on Cosmic Book News. So if Disney and Kevin Feige were hoping for a big boost for the Marvels by airing the Ms. Marvel series on ABC starring Iman Vellani, it backfired. Just like on Disney Plus, Ms. Marvel is a huge failure for network TV and suffered the worst ratings in the time slot and the worst ratings of any Marvel show on ABC. Now I'm trying to understand, how can we argue with that? They put Ms. Marvel on ABC for free to help as a part of the marketing campaign for the Marvels movie, and the Marvels movie is still one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies of all time. And the Ms. Marvel TV show is one of the lowest watched Marvel shows of all time. And even when they put it on ABC for free in prime time, it still didn't do numbers. So I'm trying to understand how they're making this argument for her popularity when the numbers don't say so. When if she was that, see, because we already know Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to do numbers because it's Spider-Man, even if it's not a good movie. Because Spider-Man is popular worldwide. We know that Jurassic World is going to do numbers because people love the Jurassic Park series, and we know that. So even if the story or the plot is ludicrous, we know they're going to do numbers. Okay? So if they're claiming the never-ending popularity for this character, for Ms. Marvel, but I need to call her Ms. Marbles, Ms. Lasha Marbles, why aren't there corresponding numbers to back up these claims of popularity? That's what I wanted to see. That's what I asked for. And nobody gave them to me. Disney announced back in July Ms. Marvel would make its network debut in August, ahead of Ms. Marvel's theatrical debut in the Marvels on November 10th. Ms. Marvel is the first MCU series to air on network TV, and the series happens to be a huge bust. Ms. Marvel completely tanking shouldn't come as a surprise, as the comic books don't sell. Kamala Khan isn't a likable and popular character. The video games have failed, and Ms. Marvel is the least watched Marvel show on Disney+. Now, I'm trying to understand, how is that arguable? How do we argue those numbers? And then the article goes into same numbers. Shocking and embarrassing. So Loki was watched by 2.5 million households, while only 775,000 households tuned in for Ms. Marvel on Disney+. So 1.725 million Marvel households chose not to watch Ms. Marvel when they could have watched it for free because they already had Disney+. So you see what they're doing there? They're comparing how many people watched Loki, 2.5 million, versus how many people watched Ms. Marvel, which is 775,000, 775,000, 100,000, excuse me, 775, 100,000. So where is the data number support for her popularity? Where is it? That's what I was asking for. Okay. So it's talking about when the episodes aired. So they did it in 2 sets of 3. First on August 5th, second on August 12th. And then there was a huge dip from the first episode to the third. On the first night, she lost 100,000 viewers. Okay. So by the end of episode 4, she lost nearly 300K viewers. Okay. So let's look at the other shows in the same time slot. So we look at America's Got Talent for that week. That crushed it. Shark Tank, that crushed it. So, or the other networks were crushing it. But what about the other Marvel shows? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and Inhumans. So they're saying back then Kevin Feige had nothing to do with Marvel TV, as reportedly Kevin Feige and Marvel TV feuded. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and Inhumans absolutely annihilate Feige's Ms. Marvel. So first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. averaged 8.31 million viewers, with the first episode drawing in more than 12 million Marvel fans. By the end of the series, season 7, they were still getting 1.5 million viewers, still much higher than Kamala Khan. Agent Carter, 2 seasons, 6.91 million viewers on the first episode, 2.35 million for the final. Even in Inhumans, which is one of the worst things we've ever seen, did better than Ms. Marvel. 5.58 million viewers tuned in for the first episode, and the final episode still had 3.36 million viewers. For Inhumans, I need you to let that in. Let that percolate in your brain. You see that? Look at The Mandalorian early in the year, drew 2.5 million viewers. So trying to say Ms. Marvel was watched by everyone on Disney Plus doesn't work, because it wasn't. So this is what I'm trying to understand. Just look at those numbers. This is what I'm trying to understand. Where's the popularity that they keep screaming about that she has? Okay. Now I want you to look at this tweet I got. I just got this one today. The tweet I got says, when I was talking about respect has to be earned, it can't be demanded. She said she earned that respect a decade ago. I'm trying to understand how, because they have tried to shoehorn Ms. Marvel in so many other projects. So she first was an Inhuman, and she was an Avengers groupie, and then they killed her in the pages of Spider-Man to bring her back as a mutant, and then they retconned her to be the first mutant, and now what they're doing now is they have a push to put her in all of the classic X-Men stories, like the Dark Phoenix saga, that whole thing, to try to make her a part of the X-Men's past. Why would they pick the most popular stories in Marvel history to try to put this character in? Because they're steady trying to boost her, steady trying to sell her. I want you to notice they didn't have to do that with any other character. What other character have they had to shoehorn retroactively into the biggest X-Men stories of all time to try to make them popular? So where's all this respect and popularity that everybody was arguing about on Twitter this week? Where is it? It just doesn't make any sense. It just is vapor. It's smoke and mirrors. It's not real. They wouldn't have to keep rebooting her, and they wouldn't have to keep. And another thing about Ms. Marvel is they keep changing her powers. Because first she had stretchy powers like Reed Richards, and she used to embiggen, which is a very silly word, but she had stretchy powers, and then they kind of dialed that down. Then they got rid of that, so Reed could be the only stretchy person. And now her powers are, I guess her hands still get big, but they glow like multicolored disco balls. So she's like maybe like Dazzler now. I don't know. Why would they have to keep changing her powers if she's so popular? If she's so good as is, and all these people, and she earned the respect and all that, why do they keep changing her like that? See, all this doesn't make any sense. I see your comments, guys. I'm going to get to your comments at the end like I always do, but I'm liking these comments. So we're going to go over them. So I see them, so keep them coming. So, it's just a very empty argument that seems to be based on emotion. But what I don't understand, and maybe some of the people in the comments, some of the people watching me live can help me understand, is why they take it so personally. I posted a tweet this week about how I know there are people that hate Batman, and I understand why they hate Batman, and that doesn't bother me, because that does not stop me from enjoying Batman, because he's my favorite character. And I understand that sometimes they've gone too campy, sometimes they've gone too serious, too dark and gritty, and then the whole Bat God thing, sometimes he's completely overpowered. I get that, and I get a lot of people don't like that, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't stop me from enjoying Batman, and I don't take it personally, whoever doesn't like it. But for some reason, because people on Twitter just like to be mad, they need to find something to be mad about. For some reason, when it comes to Kamala Khan and Miles Morales, people tend to take that so extremely personally. And that's another one that I don't understand. So like I said, maybe somebody in the comments help me out. I don't understand why do they take that so personally. It's okay to like things. It's okay to dislike things. I don't get it. Okay, so I want to show you this other article by Feige. Look at this right here. He blames the fans for the Marvels flop, but praises Iman Vellani. And she is great. Okay, this is an article from last month. Marvel didn't go to Comic-Con, and he didn't promote the release of Fantastic Four, which was a huge red flag, like he did Deadpool and Wolverine. But he was saying that Ms. Marvel was blamed for the failure of the Marvels. They said that Feige said everyone wanted the character in the MCU. Who said that? But then it said no one watching Ms. Marvel actually hurt the Marvels. So in the end, they're trying to blame the fans. Now, I had another tweet this week where somebody said, if a movie succeeds, I'm left alone. But if a movie fails, then it seems like they're trying to personally blame me. I agree with that assessment completely. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely nonsensical. Taking no responsibility, saying maybe people don't like the character, or maybe the presentation, maybe the TV show or the movie wasn't good. But instead, no, it's the fans' fault. They have no idea about how tired people are of that. I'm talking about comic fans. I'm talking about normies. I'm talking about casual fans. They have no idea how tired people are of content being put out there, and then it fails because it's not that good. And then they say, well, nothing wrong with us, and nothing wrong with the content, it must be the fans. So Feige said the takeaway was that many fans and general moviegoers didn't buy tickets for the Marvels because they weren't caught up on Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus. Now, you realize that doesn't make any sense, right? He says, I think the Marvels hit it hardest where people are like, okay, I recognize Brie Larson from $1 billion movie, which we know the only reason Captain Marvel did those numbers is because it was between Infinity War and Endgame, and they did that on purpose. And we know that. Once again, it's gaslighting. We're not stupid. Captain Marvel did so well because it was positioned between the biggest movies of all time and made it seem like you had to watch it to get what was going to happen in Endgame. So don't be gaslighting people like it did that kind of money on its own, because if it had, the sequel would have done better than it did. And it's one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies of all time. So don't be gaslighting, folks. But who are those other two, Iman Vellani and Tiana Paris? I guess they're in some TV show. I'll skip it. Feige also says it was a big company push, and it doesn't take too much to push us to go. People have been asking for Ms. Marvel for years. Who's been asking for Ms. Marvel? Where are they when she's on the screen? Did I just show you the numbers in the other article about who actually watched her show? So who? Okay. So on one side of their mouth, they talking about how we weren't caught up on the series, but the numbers show that when people could watch it for free, Disney Plus, if you got a subscription, or on ABC when it aired, they still didn't watch it. What's going on in the comics now, shoehorning Ms. Marvel into the X-Men, trying to make Kamala Khan happen, trying to make her popular. And it's still not working. Why is that if everybody's clamoring for her, if everybody just can't wait to see her? Now I'm going to find this other tweet I posted, and this was another one that got a lot of fire, but whatever, I'm used to that. It's Twitter. So I'm trying to pull that up for you. But basically, I posted a tweet about trying to make Kamala Khan happen. Stop trying to make Kamala Khan happen is what I said. She's not going to happen. So I'm going to pull that up so I can show it to you. But those of you that follow me on Twitter probably already saw it anyway, because there was another one that blew up. And here it is. And so people have accused me of engagement farming or rage baiting or whatever. And I'm like, I haven't changed since I've been on Twitter. I post about stuff I like, and I post my opinion, and that's it. It's always funny to me when people accuse you of things that they are guilty of. That has never ceased to amaze me. Okay. Here comes the tweet. All right. I said, stop trying to make Kamala Khan happen. She's not going to happen. She's not going to overshadow Scott, Gene, and Logan, just to name a few. Nobody wants this. Remember that kid in high school that wanted to be popular so badly they'd do anything? How did they end up? With nothing. With nothing. You know that. Everybody went to school with somebody like that. The kind of person where every time it was lunchtime, they sat with a different table in the cafeteria. So today they sit at table 1 and they talk about the people at table 2. But next time they sit at the table 2 and they talk about people at table 1. The next lunch they sit at table 3 and they talk about all them other previous groups. Everybody knows people like that trying so hard to be popular with everybody. How do they end up? Who are they popular with? Nobody. That's who. And so anytime we have to keep changing her powers and then force her death to be in Spider-Man to get eyes on her and then force her in X-Men, it's because she's not popular, because you don't have to do that with actually popular characters. Have we noticed that? You don't have to do that with actually popular characters. So if you see this tweet right here, this is her in the X-Men. And this is what I mean about the big glowy hands that glowing like disco balls. And so she's out there with Cyclops, with Jean, Phoenix, Rogue, Wolverine, and Kitty Pryde with Shadowcat. And they're trying to put Kamala Khan in the midst of that, like she was a part of that whole thing. I mean, you don't have to do that if your character is actually as popular as you keep claiming that they are. I'm just saying. Okay? So let me get to your comments because I'm really enjoying them. And I want to put them up on the screen. Okay? Dave T. Keek says, ironically, Muslim girls don't have civil rights in most of the world. Kamala Khan normalizes the inequality of Islam. She's anti-civil rights in a weird way. Yes, I saw somebody talk about that this week too. I forgot who said it. But somebody on my timeline this week said they didn't have the courage to do the story with Kamala Khan that they should because of this very thing. Because her existence, her backstory, her vibe, and everything kind of flies in the face of the normal rules and structure for Islamic and Muslim girls, and that's what they always put front and center about Kamala Khan. But she would really be a hot topic. She would really be an issue, and so, like they were saying, they don't really have the courage to bring out the story that she's literally built for. She's got a thing that could make her more interesting. Her flying in the face of normally what the belief structure is. That actually could be interesting. Could be if they did it. Kenny hot water. The politics of the left are to yell racist and Islamophobe. It's their mantra. The left infiltrated all media with a vengeance, want to force Americans to accept them. No lies detected. I can't argue with any of that. This is what we've been dealing with for the last 10 years and you've heard me explain it several times, but in case you never heard me explain it, I'll just briefly repeat it here. You know how in folklore, you have to let vampires in? Vampires have to be invited in folklore. Vampires just can't barge in your house. You actually have to let them in. You have to invite them in. Okay? That's what happened in fandom. Somebody came to the door that didn't consume your product and took products that had been successful for 60, 70, 80 years in some cases and told you they were wrong. If the main fan base had been straight white males, and it had been working because, like you hear me say all the time, Superman has never been out of print since 1938. So if it was working, you let somebody come to the door and tell you it was sexist, it was racist, it was wrong, and it needed to change. And for some strange reason, they listened to that, and it's been garbage ever since. It's been garbage ever since. We already had a successful product. Do you know who the first superhero was to get a movie serial? It was Captain Marvel. Shazam, all the way back in the 40s. That's right. He was the first one on a big screen with a movie serial. That's right. Batman had him. We know Superman had him, as well as different TV shows. They've all had TV shows. Batman has had multiple shows. Superman, Captain Marvel had the Shazam show, Wonder Woman, Linda Carter's show in the 70s. I mean, they don't have to do any of what they're doing with Kamala for actually popular characters. But the one story that they need to tell, how was my chair in the shot? The one story that they need to tell with Kamala, they won't. Okay. Miles just seemed a demographic thing, but if black audiences are not buying, I don't see how it's arguable either. I have no problem with Miles. I don't have a problem with Miles either, but remember, just either earlier this year or last year, they did a what if, and they made him do a bunch of different things. And what if Miles had picked up the hammer of Thor and buy Odin's Fade and all this foolishness? This Odin's Fade foolishness. I don't want to hear that foolishness. I don't want to hear that mess. So once again, it's not their existence. Let me be clear. It's not the fact that they exist. It's the fact that they are constantly pushed and lauded and touted and presented as if they're the greatest thing ever. I'm like, if that was true, you don't have to do all that. But if you don't like them, then somehow now you're a racist or a misogynist or a sexist or some kind of phobe or whatever. Why? If we don't like Hulk, are we like a greenophobe? Anybody ever said that? Oh, miss me. I think it was a great move from Marvel to have multicultural heroes. All kids from around the world should have a Marvel hero to identify with. In time, they may become more popular when we're old. Marvel did this with all new X-Men. Remember when they did the X-Men boot? When they moved away from the original 5 and they introduced an all-new team? That team was international. Storm was Kenyan. She grew up in New York, but her mom was Kenyan. Banshee, Irish. Sunfire, Japanese. Thunderbird, Native American or indigenous. Nightcrawler, German. Wolverine, Canadian and Japanese. Colossus, Russian. They already did that. So if you say we need to do it for a new generation, I can see that. But when these multicultural, multi-ethnic characters were introduced, there were not these accompanying cries that we were racist or phobes if we didn't like them. So we got a chance to just experience them and like them for who they were. That's the difference between then and now. Ms. Marvel left me scratching my head. Do you mean the TV show or just the way they're trying to push Kamala Khan? Because they played the X-Men theme on the TV show. Did you catch that? When they revealed that she was a mutant, they played da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Go back and watch it if you missed it the first time. Okay. I didn't like the mutant angle. I didn't either because it wasn't necessary. Now, somebody said that was the original idea, but they didn't own the X-Men when Kamala came out, so they had to make her be an Inhuman. And then Feige tried to push the Inhumans, and then that didn't work. That blew up spectacularly. The Inhumans failed on a scale we haven't seen in a long time. Remember, the Inhumans were launched first with a movie and then to a TV show, and they were awful. What did they do in the first or second episode? They cut Medusa's hair. Inhumans feel so bad until it's embarrassing. So then they pull Kamala from that, and now she's a mutant, and now she's X-Men, and now she went back in time, and she was there for Dark Phoenix and all that. Okay. And Biggin is literally a joke word from The Simpsons. It's a joke word, all right, because I laugh every time I hear it. Revisionist history for Muslims. America was founded and rejected Islam. Americans are not going to be all happy, touchy, free, feeling accepted. We're heading to a world conflict with Islam. The only thing I really liked about Ms. Marvel is the inventor. I think he's the most comic booky character in it. That's cool. Like I said, if they leaned into what they keep focusing on with her, there's a story there, but they don't seem to want to do that. Because the different cultures is good as long as that's not the only reason for existing and not their main defining characteristics. That's right. That's what I was saying. If they have other motivations, if they have other characteristics, if they're a fully fleshed out character, in other words, if they're actually a character. But if all they are is a DI or a token character, then they're empty. It doesn't mean much. Demographics are not what make a character interesting. All actual writers know that. What makes a character interesting is their conflicts, their weaknesses, their desire, what drives them. What drives them, what are they not so good at, and what do they have to face in the pursuit of their goal is what makes a character interesting and makes a story compelling. Luke Skywalker, a farm boy who always dreamed about more because he had more in him. Okay, Solo, a smuggler, a scoundrel, but someone who had a heart of gold, who decided to help the rebellion and not just make off with the money. He could have, but he didn't. Okay, and his loyal best pal, Chewie, who has a blood debt with him. And Leia, someone who is both a politician, a diplomat, and a rebel. Someone who, like her mom that we meet later when we meet Padme, believed in the freedom and the democracy and the liberty for all the star systems and stood against the Empire. You see how I'm describing them without describing how they look and their demographics, gender, age, height, weight, color. Did you notice that? Because that's why they're a real character. But when you don't have that, it's just a shell of a character. She, they is one of Ms. Marvel. I guess so. One of these days, we're going to figure out why they decided to ignore the people that made them rich and successful, and why they decided to dismiss the very people that gave them an empire to go after an audience that never consumed their product, never will consume their product, and also hates them and hates the characters and hates the story world and hates the fans. That's going to be studied, by the way, for years to come. Why? Why did that big change happen? We know how it happened, but why did they accept it 10 years ago in 2015? That's going to be studied for many, many years to come. The whole idea of entertainment companies opening up their IPs to people that absolutely hate those IPs and hate everything in the story world and hate the people that love them, and started doing something I call spite right, creating content just to spite. That's what Jessica Dow said about She-Hulk. She wrote it specifically to own the chuds. Okay. One day we're going to understand how that happened. Since 1974, the left has infiltrated all institutions like Hollywood, Marvel, Disney, to force their agenda on America as well, undermining American culture and child perversion. So we have seen a cultural shift in so much of our content. And I mean, that is undeniable. We could just go back to the 90s and look at the kind of content that was out then versus look at what's out now. Ms. Marvel's push is the strangest thing ever. I agree. I second that. She was the main character in the Avengers game, and her and all the other got their own animated series called Risings. But the game didn't do well. They put Kamala Khan in everything, and everything she was in failed. Where is his popularity? I want Arabian Night. I can't. I know I'm an idiot. Okay. Kamala Khan is a bad character because she isn't written as a superhero fan from the Marvel Universe. She's written as a Marvel Comics fan from our world. She knows the trigger from all our comics. I think that's a good point. That's certainly the way Iman Vellani, that's who Iman Vellani is as a person. She's a fangirl for real in her own life, and Kamala's written that way. So maybe that's another reason she's a little bit empty as a character, because she's a fourth wall breaking character in an unintentional way. That she doesn't really fit in the world of heroes. She's observed the world of heroes. So maybe that's true. A little off topic, but the comics are trying to make female Silver Surfer happen. She looks much worse than she does in the movie. Yet another example of why, so that was another firestorm on Twitter when that broke. So we know there are two female Silver Surfers in the comics, but they both have such small appearances until it's ridiculous for someone to snatch those small appearances when Silver Surfer has always been Norrin Rad for 99.9% of appearances. It's been Norrin Rad. So they're going to throw all that out and make Silver Surfer female. See, wokeness is a sickness. It's a virus. It infects stuff and destroys everything it touches. Hollywood had a mantra in the 80s and 90s, no more chick flicks, any female lead movies don't sell tickets. They ignored that, then act dumbfounded despite all the history of ticket sales. So once again, my request is always numbers. Don't other industries try to give their customers what they want? Only the entertainment industry gives their customers everything they don't want and then says, well, no, it's your fault for not consuming our crap. Sanaa Amanat created her, and she's a big shot at Marvel. As long as Sanaa Amanat is working on Marvel, Kamala will be pushed on fans. Yeah, I heard that yesterday too, and yeah, that's true. Unfortunate, but true. Genius skips a generation. Feige didn't get the 80s, 90s memo, but understands it now. Maybe he understands it now. What has Marvel dropped this year? That amazing Spider-Man, fully neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Lord have mercy, a Captain America, Brave New World, Ironheart, and they finna drop Wonder Man. I know this stuff was in the can before this year, but can we honestly say that they've learned? Have they learned anything? Maybe with Ironheart, because they dropped it in two separate segments, 3 and 3, just to get it over with. Maybe that's an indication that they understood that woke isn't working. Maybe. But we're still getting Black Wonder Man. We've been wanting to see Simon Williams for years, and now they're going to give us Black Wonder Man. Okay. What's next? Are they going to push her on the real champions, the invaders in Human Royal Family, Fu Manchu's army? Not Fu Manchu's army. This character is a comedy. She really is. Again, I have to use a school analogy. The person in school that tries too hard to be taken seriously always ends up as a joke. But that's true in adult life too. You work with somebody like that, they're always trying to be like this big shot. You ever notice that? When you go out with your friends, there's always that one person in the group that's trying so hard to be a big shot. And they don't understand that when you try too hard like that, the more you try, it has the opposite effect of what you want. That's what's been going on with Kamala Khan. Pushing her as hard as they have has had the opposite effect. Instead of her being this big deal that you keep screaming she is now a joke. She's a joke. Or Gmod Anon, I'm missing from those hands. By Odin's Fade, I forgot. That's right, Miles Morales with the Hammer of Thor by Odin's Fade, and Asgard was somehow ghetto fabulous. Don't get me started. I can't make you understand as an African American how tired I am of people thinking that African American and ghetto is synonymous. It is not. I'm gonna say that one more time. I can't speak for other cultures or ethnic groups. I'll let them speak for themselves. I can't speak for an ethnic group I'm not a part of, but I can speak for what I am a part of. And I'm so tired of it being presented that African American and ghetto are synonymous terms. No, they're not. Every African American is not born in the ghetto. Every African American doesn't have a ghetto mentality. Every African American doesn't have ghetto experience. I'm not putting down, don't mistake what I'm saying, Lord have mercy. I'm not bashing that experience, because whatever your life has been, it is what it is. And no one can put you down for your life experience. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that experience is not the totality of Black experience. That's what I'm saying. It's not their only experience that Black people have. So all of a sudden, Miles gets the hammer of Thor and Asgard is ghetto fabulous, really? I cannot make you understand in human words how tired of that I am. Okay. My friend, I apologize. Sometimes I'm full of contradictions. I'm sorry I bring politics into this. No need to apologize. I want to hear what people have to say. That's why I do live streams. I want to hear what you guys have to say, just like on Twitter. I want to get your feedback. I want to hear. I mean, I think it was, somebody said it to me this week. I think it was Two Cheesecakes said it to me. We just want to talk about the comic stories that we love and the story worlds that we love. That's all we ever want to do. That's all it's ever been for us. We just want to talk about the stories we love, the characters we love. We just want to have some friendly debate, all that different kind of stuff. That's all it's ever been for us. But these last 10 years, man, everything has turned into a fight. Oh, just wait for the reboot of MCU X-Men. That will show everyone once and for all that Feige learned nothing. You know what, Dave? I'm not looking forward to that. Just like I was not looking forward to the Fantastic Four, and even though it surprised me that it was something that could be enjoyed if you looked at it like a cartoon with live action actors. If you watch the Fantastic Four First Steps movie and realize it was just a cartoon with live action people, you could enjoy it then. But it wasn't nothing of what it should have been. We know that from the comics. I was not looking forward to it. Well, take those feelings and triple them for how I feel about MCU X-Men. I'm not looking forward to that at all, I'm sad to say. We always wanted Marvel to get a hold of their core properties because they licensed off and auctioned off the rights, and they still don't have Spider-Man fully back. Sony still has Spider-Man because why would they ever give Spider-Man up? He's a cash cow. But they got Fantastic Four back and they got the X-Men back. And what have they done with them? I'm not looking forward to MCU X-Men. I'm really not, which is a shame because we've been waiting since the Fox X-Men debuted. We've been waiting to see what Marvel could do. And Deadpool and Wolverine made $1 billion. And that was basically the ending of the Fox universe. So we've been waiting for a while to see what Marvel can do with these properties, and now not looking forward to it at all. Awaiting Miles' Iron Fist now come on. This is good. Right. Get ready for a gay-ass man, or as I like to call him, my sport. So yeah, they turned Bobby Drake gay a few years back. And so also the X-Men world has so many characters in it. X-Men should really be a HBO-style limited series. We need a huge budget, and we need to have maybe 10 episodes for per season, and we could go through all the different eras of the X-Men, because you actually really can't do the X-Men justice in a 2-hour movie because there's too many of them, and there's too many good stories to tell. I want to see what Phase 1 and 2 MCU could do with the X-Men, not current MCU. That's right. But X-Men needs to be like an HBO Max series or an Amazon Prime series with that kind of budget, with that kind of money. 10 episodes per season, and we start at the very beginning with the original 5 and go through the eras. That would be gold. How could that not be a hit? If it's written well, of course. But I'm saying that's what, because a movie, there's just no way. How many characters you're going to have in it? We're already seeing what's going to happen with Avengers Doomsday. We're already seeing that movie is overstuffed. That movie is completely overstuffed. First movie with the original 5, second movie, second class, and third movie, the 90s. That's an easy line for a movie. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Would they do an X-Men movie now without Wolverine ever? Nope. Okay, so before I go, I want to turn your attention again. I want to show you this again. I am relaunching this. I'm relaunching my Kickstarter for my book, The Z Normals. And I really need my tweeps and family and friends and supporters, and everybody that follows me on Twitter, and everybody help me get this book off the ground. I've written this book as a longtime comic fan. You know, I have other books out, but I really have been waiting for a long time to write this book. If I say too much, everything I say will be a spoiler. You literally have to read every page to understand what's going on. So I'm going to be launching this again sometime in the next 30 days. So I really am asking for your support, because I really need your support to make the book go. Okay? Let me see if I'm going to tease you with a few names. The guy sitting in front, he's actually in a wheelchair. His name is Biotech. The girl that you see with the dreads and the red hair, that's Crimson Cancer. So I don't know what you think about those names. Some people call them corny, but I don't care. Since when do I care? But I do want you to support this, and I really appreciate those that do. So I will let you know when I launch this again, because I really want to get it going, because I want to make an impact in the market. Can't do that by yourself. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching me live. Thank you so much for tuning in to my weekly comics chat. Thank you so much for your comments. You know, I really appreciate it, because again, we're here to talk about the characters and the story worlds that we love. I started doing my live stream because I wanted to talk about what caught my attention for the week. And this was definitely it this week. So, but like I said, we've always just wanted to enjoy the characters that we love. And longtime comic fans, that has never changed. But oh, when the Tumblr folks came in, oh, when the social justice warriors came in, oh, when they came in, oh Lord. And fandom has been a fight ever since. We're all tired of that. So that's why I want you to come on my live stream where we can talk and where we can, you know, just talk about stuff we care about like we used to. Okay? All right, that's it for me this week. Let me see. I think I might be here next week. I might be going on vacation. I might be taking a break. I will tell you on Twitter if I'm going to be live streaming next week or not, because I know I got some vacation time coming up before Labor Day. So if I do, I will let you know. I'll let you know on Twitter what's happening. Okay? Thanks again. Have a good day. DT2 Comics Chat out.